Welcome everyone to a committee, council and committee meeting of Tuesday, April 1st. Laurie, call to order, please.
Okay, motion.
Alan and Keith.
Moved by Councillor Wren, second by Reeve Watt, that the council and committee meeting of April 1st, 2025 be approved as amended.
All in favor? Carried. Roll call.
Mayor Bennett,
Present.
Reeve Watt,
Present.
Councillor Gauthier-Keel, Councillor Hewitt, Councillor Hughley, Councillor King,
Present.
Councillor Wren.
Present.
All present with the exception of Councillor Gauthier-Keel, Councillor Hewitt, Councillor Hughley, and it should be noted that Councillor King is attending virtually.
Thank you. Can approve of the agenda, and we have an amendment that we've moved Public Works and Property up to item number 6. Keith and Alan.
Moved by Reeve Watt, seconded by Councillor Wren, that the agenda of the council and committee meeting of April 1st, 2025 be approved as amended.
All in favor? Carried. Disclosure procuring interests, seeing none. No delegations. Public Works, Mark, please.
Hello, yes, so good evening, everyone. My report tonight is for the exercise of the contract extension to Miller Waste for 2 years, that being from April 1, 2025, which is today, through to the end of March 31st, 2027. And that would be with Miller Waste Systems, and that would be for the provision of the collection of refuse, source-separated organics, leaf and yard waste, as well as large item collection. The township's current collection contract with Miller Waste for curbside collection and recycling was a 10-year agreement, and it did have the provision for the addition of 2 one-year extensions. That contract did start on April 1st, 2015, and it did end last Friday on March 28th. The collection contract is in partnership with the town of Petawawa and the city of Pembroke, and it's been a long-term beneficial contract, and all municipalities have been offered the same contract extension terms from Miller. The partner municipalities have all had a great working relationship with Miller, and at a staff level we do support the extension and continuing on with Miller for 2 more years. As council is aware, there are some new regulations being introduced by the province, which changes the responsibility of residential recycling away from the municipalities. The township has now transitioned, and we are no longer responsible for the collection of any recyclable materials. The new contract with Miller Waste that we'll be looking to move forward with is for the collection of residential refuse, source-separated organics, leaf and yard waste, as well as large item collection. As noted in a previous report to council, the province has deemed that various waste generators, some are non-eligible sources. This includes commercial, industrial businesses, churches, daycares, and even if they were part of our program already, they were being deemed to not be acceptable moving forward. The province has allowed for the remainder of this year for the contractor to collect. However, the cost, there is a cost to the township for that, and I'll go on to that a little bit further in some delays for staff and to get both the extension to this contract as well as to procure a new solid waste collection contractor. City of Pembroke staff are currently working on our new collection contract, and the group has appointed myself to work with the consultant through the development and procurement process later on this year. The partner municipalities have had several meetings and discussions together and with Miller Waste regarding the collection contract. Below are a couple of charts that reflect some of that pricing. In chart A, it shows what our rates were in 2024 and what the proposed rates are for 2025. Most are I think within reason, the one that really stands out is for the large item collection. Something that you'll note in the 2024 rates, we were paying $82.98 per ton for collection. The challenge there was that there was an error in Miller's original contract 10 years ago, and essentially they've been losing money as part of it. When you look at regular garbage collection at $140 a ton, it was quite considerable less. So while that is it's a significant increase, it is what that true cost is to them for collection. Below in chart B, it identifies what the prices are for 2026. And again, there's another increase. Things do start to take a bit more of a substantial increase in collection, but the challenge is that there's no recycling anymore to be collected. Where in 2025, there is still collection with the province. So this probably moving forward, once we have our new contract, will be the prices that we will probably see. It's unfortunate with the single stream collection that the prices are going to increase substantially. For the budget allocation, we did carry the same budget as 2024 of $562,000. With a lot of unknowns at the time of budget deliberations last fall, we just left the number being the same, and that hoping without having to pay for the recycling collection that it would reduce things a little bit. We were optimistic that there would be some savings, and it looks like the estimated cost for this year, we would be just shy of $500,000, which puts us at a surplus of $62,000. For the collection of the non-eligible sources, Miller Waste will charge us back $205 a ton, and basically that's a rebill from what the province is charging them. We're estimating that we're about 2.6% of our materials for collection are non-eligible. That being just over 1,000 tons of material puts us at about $5,700, $6,000 range. With the budget, we will still have sufficient funds to be able to collect the non-eligible sources through the remainder of this year. For 2026, we will have to renegotiate with Miller for the collection of non-eligible sources, because that will be 100% borne by us. So that'll be something we'll have to look at as part of the 2026 budget. So if council has any questions or comments or thoughts.
Alan, go ahead.
So just, Mark, just want to make it clear. So they were eating, just for Laurentian Valley, between $65,000 and $75,000 a year in large item pickup? That seems like a lot of money.
Yeah, so well, some of this though as well is because we were paying for the collection of recycling as well, and I think that equated to $80,000 to $100,000 a year is what we were paying for that portion of their contract. So if I look at just large item, I'm just looking at just large item, the increase is $75,000 per year, and that's just us. That's not divided by 3, right? That's just Laurentian Valley's increase. No. Yeah, so our increase is almost 300%.
Just for Laurentian Valley?
Just for Laurentian Valley. It's the same number for all municipalities. It was there's the same rates that have been provided to all 3.
Wow, that's pretty substantial. Do you remember what we were paying before this contract for large item pickup? I'm sure it was nowhere near $100,000 a year. And if it was, if it is, maybe we need to look at that and streamline it somehow. Because $100,000 a year to do that pickup's a lot of money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a big number, and that's something that we want to look at. And potentially, it's not the same system moving forward. Maybe there's a lot of municipalities use a tagging system where when you get your tax bill, you're given X number of tags, and you can put your items out with your regular garbage. So those are options we want to explore when we move forward with our new contract this year. But we're hoping with the budget that was there to still continue for 2025. If council wishes, we can talk to Miller about not completing this in 2026. We can get through the remainder of this year. And I know Miller said that because they bring in extra staff and extra resources, if we were to say, no, thank you, we don't want to do this anymore, it doesn't affect the prices for the other items that we are collecting.
Yeah, no, so my concern is it basically wipes out any savings that we're going to have having the provincial government take over the recycling end of things.
Yes, yeah, by the time we get into things for next year, any savings we had are pretty much gone with the single stream collection, even though we're not responsible for the recycling collection anymore. It's challenging. It is something that it does sound like the province is revisiting, but it's unfortunate that Miller's signed on a 7-year contract with the province and they've purchased all new single stream trucks because when they were procuring their vehicles, the province had told them that it was single stream and there couldn't be co-collection. But it does sound like they are willing to revisit that at the end of the term. So our thought was with our next collection contract is we would match the province so that the provincial contract and our contract would be out together, and then it would allow the contractors to bid a potential dual stream process in 7 years.
Okay, thank you.
Mark, my question, and I'm sure you guys have looked at this, when we had the original 10-year +1+1, there was no rates in the +1+1, or it was open for negotiations?
No. Yes, yeah, it was just open for negotiations. Basically, it just allowed the municipality to approach Miller, but there was no cost. There was no number in there. It's just if we were satisfied with their service, we could negotiate contract extensions.
Once again, the province kind of dropped the ball on this whole collection reorganization because everything fell so late in the schedule, and we hung on to the end of the 5-year transition, hoping that everything would be worked out, but obviously it wasn't. So
No,
it's,
and they're still, because most municipalities, even though our transition date was basically last Friday, we're still in a transitional period now until January 1, 2026, because things still aren't finalized in that process. So it's been challenging. We had hoped to have our collection contract out already, but just with unknowns and things that were going on, we weren't sure. So we've sort of been hanging on, and I say our municipal group we're behind where we wanted to be.
Right.
And it's unfortunate. We kind of hoped to have something in place by now, but the city is soon ready to issue the contract, and they'll get that out fairly quickly, and then it'll give about 1.5 years probably for the new contractor to acquire new collection vehicles, which would be required under a new contract.
okay. Mark, very quickly, and then I'll let Keith speak. Is there a plan yet, or is that something they're going to put together for business collection at the end of this year? Are we going to go out to the businesses, get their opinions on it?
So we're going to build that into that new contract. So and that's something that we'll have to negotiate if if this extension is approved tonight. Then we'll negotiate pricing with Miller for our commercial properties, and then that would be presented to them later this year, and then a decision moving forward. I know both our partner municipalities are interested in continuing the collection as well. So all 3 of us are on board, and we're hoping that because all 3 of us are on board, we'll get some favorable pricing back from Miller for that.
Okay, thank you. Keith?
Thank you. I guess first comment that with that kind of price, we can't do 2 pickups, 2 large type property pickups in a year. I mean, that's just way, way too expensive. We might even have to trim as to what could go into it. I don't know, in terms of weight and things like that. Secondly, I guess the question is, Miller, with the new extension to the contract, are they still out of the old Stafford Township office property? Or will they stay?
Yeah, so for the first question, yes, that is something we are going to have to look at, is the cost of the large item collection, and looking at options moving forward. And I mentioned potentially a tagging system earlier where residents got it, and we have talked about the idea of maybe doing a spring collection only. because I wouldn't say it's double what the fall is, but there's a lot more material collected in the spring than what there is in the fall. So it is something we're looking at. For now, Miller Waste, they are looking to end their agreement for the rental of our building. But at this point, they haven't found their new home yet. So for now, they are still out of the old Stafford Works garage. But at some point, they will be moving to a new home. And it's my understanding that they're looking at a property in the city of Pembroke. But still close proximity, but we will unfortunately be at some point. I'm thinking probably be into early 26 now by the time they go. But yeah, towards the end of this year, we'll probably lose them as a tenant.
Thank you.
And the main reason for that is the size of their current space, is what we
Yes,
understand.
Yeah, so the challenge is because they need just as many municipal vehicles as they do provincial vehicles, and that essentially doubles the size of their fleet, and the yard just isn't big enough, and they just don't have enough space for the radius of their collection and for the vehicles that'll be there.
Okay. Mark, thanks very much. I guess the only thing that I'll leave with you is, I know Keith mentioned the cost of large pickup, but we have to be cognizant as well that if we ever stop that program, our ditches will be full. So it's a balance, and I agree with you. Spring is a lot more busier than the fall, so certainly we'll have some options.
We do have a lot of charts and data and that we collected. So what I'll do is I'll put something through to council just on what the cost of large item collection is, and just kind of broken down by the year and that, and I'll share that out in an email, just so you're aware what those costs are.
Okay, thanks very much, Mark. Anything more? No? Okay. Okay. We have a motion. Alan and Keith.
Moved by Councillor Wren, seconded by Reeve Watt, that the Township of Laurentian Valley exercise the current curbside collection contract 2 one-year renewal options for the period of April 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026, and April 1st, 2026 to March 31st, 2027, with Miller Waste Systems for the provision of collection services for refuse, source-separated organics, leaf and yard waste, and large item collection.
All in favor? Betty, I'm not getting anything from you, so I just want to make sure. Sorry, there's no hand though, right?
I have been.
Oh,
Raising my
okay,
hand.
because the other hand wasn't showing earlier. Sorry. Okay, just 1 second. Okay, we're just going to backtrack just for a moment because we read the wrong motion, open the meeting.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that the call to order motion was read incorrectly, so I'm going to reread it now. Moved by Councillor Wren and seconded by Reeve Watt, that the council in committee meeting of April 1st was called to order at 5:30 p.m.
All in favor? Carried.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, we'll go to subcommittees, Ottawa Valley Waste. The board package is there, and the meeting summary. So I don't have anything further to report. We're still working with the ministry on our leachate. If there's not any questions, we'll move down to business protocol and guidelines for establishing radio communications with Township of Laurentian Valley. Laurie, please.
Yes, so I do have before council tonight a new protocol for the township related to radio communication towers being established newly within the township. We previously had a bylaw passed that we had entered into an agreement with CRINS, which was a nonprofit made up of municipalities of across Canada for this purpose. And it appears that with small staff that they didn't have good succession planning, and there doesn't appear to be a functioning agency anymore, which a lot of municipalities are coming late to the table to find this out. So we are getting there ahead of an application coming in so that we have protocols in place that are more than the default ones for the federal government, which again, most communities across Canada do adopt something that's better than the default. So what I have here, I did put out a call through OPPI, which is the Ontario Professional Planners Institute, among my colleagues. And so I do have something that does lean heavily from some of the other examples out there, including the city of Kingston. And it does incorporate a protocol that would be similar to our site plan process. So we're kind of proposing that somebody would file an application in the same vein as they would a site plan, but we don't give site plan approval because it's a federal jurisdiction at the end of the day. So while we can require to see their design packages and ask questions and other information and have a little bit of input into this process, at the end of the day, if there is a dispute, it is the federal government that does, through ISED, Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada, that does issue those final approvals. So I do have attached to my report as well, I do have a copy of the protocol, and we can continue to review that as we navigate the next year and see what other communities have put in place, or if there's other lessons learned. But this is similar to what has been functioning in some other communities, and with some tailoring specifically to our township. So I have included, again, the direct circulation, although they do need to do this anyways with the airports. I do have something that we would be sending our package out for certain for the Pembroke area airport, and also considering any considerations for the, depending on what location in the municipality it is, the hospital, helipad, or those types of things, and then also any of our other locational items as residential. And we also have, a list of places where we would be trying to say that we would be discouraging, whether we can say that they're absolutely precluded from. That's where there could be a balance where the federal government could say, no, that's where it needs to go. But if there's a pre-consultation, we certainly would be steering away from certain areas of the community if possible. So again, I don't know if council's had an opportunity to take a look at that, or if they have any, questions or concerns, and we can certainly, tailor some items as we move forward. But we wanted to get something in place.
Alan, go ahead.
So just maybe a comment, Lori, and if the airport commission was asked for comments on that, what our comment would be is they would have to make sure that they fill out the application with NAV Canada. So anything within a certain radius of the airport of a certain height has to get an actual approval from NAV Canada. And then just on the one tower in particular, the last one that went up on the end of Drive-In Road, and I mentioned it to our manager at the airport the other day. When I go by, I can't see a light on it. Now, he tells me that lots of times those lights, when you're right close to them, you can't see. You have to get further away, but I haven't checked that. But do you know if there's an operational light on that tower? Because it's in a really bad spot with like where it's in relation to the helipad at the hospital and everything. Plus DND use that track with their helicopters as well. And I'm really concerned if there's no light on that somebody's going to run into that in the middle of the night.
Yeah, so I can certainly mention that to the ISED. I do have a contact there with the federal government now that is looking at that site in particular. Again, that site came in as a replacement, and we're still in some discussions because it was a different type of process, and all of a sudden it had appeared. But there are still some ongoing discussions, but certainly I can bring that to their attention, and they would be the best served at this point to confirm that for us. But absolutely, part of my proposal with the process of circulating as well is to make sure that things aren't missed, where they still would have to comply with that, with the federal legislation, but just to abundance of caution to make sure that everybody who needs to know does.
Betty, you have your hand up?
Yes, Lori, on page 4, looks like there's some information missing on the end of the first paragraph. Is there a lot missing or just a couple of words?
Would that be page 4 of the protocol?
Yeah, these applications were processed in conjunction with CRIN and appears to be in just before the, and there's nothing there. I believe it could be what you submitted.
Oh, okay, so it's in
This is the
my
next page.
in my report itself.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Apologize for anybody that's watching the screen roll there. Okay, so I will check that to confirm. With the protocol part,
I'm not sure there's a whole.
it's what we would be actually adopting, so I apologize if I cut and paste one here.
I just wanted to bring that forward, so I wasn't sure there's a whole bunch there, or if it's just a few words.
Oh, yeah, certainly. No, I do see where you're mentioning, yes. So sorry, the sentence, I did leave it hanging a tiny bit, which should say, these applications were processed in conjunction with CRINs and appears to be in just before the dissolution was the word that should have been there. So that was referring to, we had an easier process with the 4 Rogers telecommunication towers, 2022, 2023, and that seems to have been, we got in just under the wire before the worm turned, shall we say, with that organization starting to implode. So that, yes, should have said just before the dissolution.
Okay, thanks, Patty.
Thank you.
We have
Thank you.
a motion. Keith and Al.
Moved by Reeve Watt, seconded by Councillor Wren, that the Planning and Emergency Services Committee recommend that Council adopt the proposed protocol and guidelines for establishing radio communications within the Township of Laurentian Valley and repeal bylaw number 2015-04-008 to officially cease the relationship with CRINs, SINRC, and that Council pass the corresponding bylaw number 2025-04014 as presented during the bylaw portion of the April 15th, 2025 regular Council meeting. And further, that Council adopt bylaw 2025-04015 as presented to amend the Consolidated Tariff of Fees bylaw 2024-02011 during the bylaw portion of the April 15th, 2025 regular Council meeting.
Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Laurie. To subcommittees, Pembroke Canary Airport.
So just so everybody knows, I think everybody remembers, I think it was about 6 or 7 years ago that the airport had issues with its lights. Mother Nature and frost have did it to our lights again this year. Steve has them mostly all back on now, but they've been hit and miss for about the last month or so. By the time he's done this fix on it, we'll have the entire airfield rewired and pretty much all new transformers. So later on in the year, that new wire that he put in this year will have to be buried, and hopefully that's the end of our buried wire issues, and we don't have that issue with the lights anymore. So it's been fun.
Yeah, I guess so. Emergency management, Laurie, any update on flooding? Everything's
Yeah, just that we do maintain in a monitoring position, and we do have our regular Freshette calls on Wednesday morning, so we will have another update tomorrow, and I will keep council briefed. At this point, we haven't been flagged with areas of concern, but we will certainly keep monitoring that. And again, you know, the regular messaging is that those typical low-lying areas that in a normal time would see some spring flooding, you know, may be starting to experience that. So certainly that is a thing that generally does happen every spring. Beyond that, that's where we're monitoring to see that we don't get into any dangerous situations, but we will keep that updated. And following tomorrow's morning update, I will send a note out to council and anybody listening on the line. We do keep the website updated, and also should always be following, if you're on the Ottawa River Regulation Planning Board website for the most up to date.
okay, so we're still early though.
Yes, but Frechette officially would have started, but we're still waiting for northern waters. There's still some tributary stuff, and then with some of the rainfall events, there would be, because ground is still frozen in that, it gets quicker to the river systems because it's not, there's not foliage on trees and there's frozen ground, so it's not trapping.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Laurie on that?
There were grooming trails in northern Ontario today.
Turn your mic on. Okay, so we'll move down to Sean. Statement of 2024 development charges.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is an annual report that was to be done by March 31st, so we're a day late. But we have to report on the development charges that we collected throughout the year. And so in 2024, there were 13 development charges collected for the total amount of $36,262.78. And during the year, we earned interest on the development charge account of $9,818.32. So our ending balance of this reserve fund is $231,384.37.
Okay. Questions? Keith?
The 7 areas that the monies are showing a balance in, from that $36,000, how is that apportioned to each of those subgroups?
So it's in the bylaw or the study how those were to be apportioned out. So I don't have the exact math on what like when a development charge is collected, how it gets apportioned through there. But through that study or through that exercise, it identified when we collect how much goes into each of those.
And that's from both the residential and the commercial properties?
Correct. Yes. I don't know if Lori wants to add anything or not, but I don't know if there's much to add.
Yeah, that's correct. And we do have the pamphlet available as well too that does give that breakdown between categories as well to provide some background information. And I would note that we had some big commercial permits, but they just may have, for the year that they were issued, they just were in and around that 2024 reporting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. Alan and Keith.
Moved by Councillor Wren and seconded by Reeve Watt that the Corporate Services Committee recommend Council of the Township of Laurentian Valley approve the 2024 Development Charge Report as prepared by the Treasurer.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, Sean, 2025 tax and wastewater rates.
Okay, so this is the next step of the whole budget process. Is now to pass our tax rates for the year. This is a little bit earlier than normal. Normally, I believe we come in May with these. The reason why we're bringing them early is there's a bit of fear that the Canada Post may strike again. I believe that the last return to work mandate brought them to May 26th. They're not in that area. And then after that, I don't think they've settled, but I know the original one a few months ago was bringing them to mid-May before they could strike again. That was our interpretation. So we asked the county if they would move up their work that they do on this so that the lower tiers can get out our tax bills if we think that's going to be an issue, because that can be detrimental for us collecting later in the year. So on March 26th, the county passed their tax ratio bylaw, their tax rate and tax rate bylaws, which allows us then to do the work that we need to do. So to reiterate, I guess, in 2025, the tax levy, so the taxation we're looking to collect is $7,323,497. The majority of that, 76% of that, is we collect from the residential properties. Due to the assessment freeze, the assessments are really stable, other than if you had a betterment or an addition to your property. We did see a 0.65% increase in weighted assessment from 2024. So that growth happened in 2024, but comes on our 2025 return roll. This is slightly down from last year. And what does that growth really mean for us? Well, it means that of the $7.3 million that we're going to collect, 47,000 of that is borne by the new assessment. That the original, we'll call them assessment owners of the year, they would have to make up that if we didn't have that growth. So it's not additional revenue, but just splits out the pie that long-standing assessment owners don't have to foot that bill. That's by the new owners or the new assessment owners. And then one thing that we kind of overlook when we get to this point is our wastewater levy. So it's just important to reiterate that we're going to collect about $747,800 in through the tax bills, but for wastewater. The last paragraph on page 2 of 5 and goes into the next page. I just want to briefly speak about this optional tax class. So this is the small scale on farm business subclass, and this does have an impact, or would have an impact, on Laurentian Valley. So Laurentian Valley is one of 5 municipalities in the county that have assessment that belongs into this subclass. And what this class is a farm property that has a commercial entity on it, that 51% of the floor space of that commercial entity sells what was grown on the farm. So I think there's 2 or 3 properties in Laurentian Valley that this applies to. The province of Ontario, years back, I'm not sure exactly what year, implemented that the upper tiers could implement this class where the first $100,000 of commercial assessment would have a 75% decrease. And an idea is to promote these businesses to have their commercial storefronts and to sell what's grown on their property. It's popular in Prince Edward County with the wineries and what was grown on the property is sold. In any event, it was looked at by the tax policy working group and brought to county council with the recommendation not to implement. But I did it because we have the most assessment. I did a little bit more research and analysis of what this would mean. Really, the median residential ratepayer in Laurentian Valley, if implemented, would pay 36 cents more in property taxes, so it's pretty minuscule. The township would pay about $640 less to the county of Renfrew. The other 4 municipalities, it's labeled what they would also pay less. And then the town of Petawawa would be the largest levy increase of $379. So you can see that these dollar figures are under $1,000. It's very minuscule, and I believe it's quoted at the county as pretty much a rounding error. For a Laurentian Valley property that would qualify for this tax reduction, they would save about $1,300. That's lower tier and upper tier combined. And that's the maximum amount that's if they had a full $100,000 of commercial assessment. And then there was the reduction in the commercial tax rate for these properties. Anyway, went to county council, and the direction, and I'm sure the Reeve can speak more to it as well, is that they're not going to implement it this year, but it's something they would look at in the future. And it's just our staff's, interpretation that this is something that should be looked at, as it can. It has I think, a very positive impact on some of these businesses, and can really have a cascading effect, into these small businesses getting off the ground, and it's implementing what a provincial mandate is. In any event, it is something that could be looked at. I think that a lot of times when these changes of assessment occur, they don't want to occur because of the impact on the residential ratepayer, which in this instance is very minimal, and there's a lot of talk about administrative burden. Well, we've implemented a new tax class this year with very little administrative burden, so I think a program like this, and obviously that's a county council issue, but a program like this would meet the Laurentian Valley and the County of Renfrew strategic plans. But anyway, I just wanted to touch on that because I know it's something that will come later on, probably next year. What the tax rates here today mean, are for residential properties per $100,000 assessment. The impact is about $54.47, or a 5.12% increase. If we go to the next page, this kind of labels out how the municipal, county, and education portions, how that corresponds to each other. So you see that bottom right corner, 5.12%. The wastewater rate has a higher increase of about $78 per $100,000 of assessment. And then the chart below here shows the breakdown of if you're somebody that's just paying property tax, somebody that's paying tax and water, and somebody that's paying tax, water, and wastewater, those increases, which are labeled here. The graph on the next page is the breakdown of how so when we collect, the township uses about 35.8% of every dollar collected through taxation. And then the county's 36.3, the school board's just shy of 20%, and then the policing is about 8.4%. And then if I would like to go to a little bit further through this bylaw. We want to get to bylaw 4125. Keep going, please. A little bit further, a little bit further. That one, oh, no, you were right there, I think. Up again, right there. Those are the tax ratios as set by the county between the different classes. So I know I was asked this by a resident after the last meeting on how these really work. So the county of Renfrew sets the tax ratios. So residential is always set at 1, and then you can see multi-residential pays about 1.9 times what a residential owner would pay. And then new multi-residential is the same as resident. Anyway, they're set that way through. The farm property class is third from the bottom, is 25% of the residential class, same as the managed forest. The township here, council here doesn't have the authority over these. That's at the county level, which was what I was explaining to the ratepayer, and I said that I'd bring this as part of my report. So with that, I'll pass it back to the mayor if there's any questions.
Okay, thank you. Lots of information. It's good. Keith?
Just a comment. First off, I think Sean did a great job in presenting this new farm tax class. I would like to address it later on. At county council, the motion was to pass it, or not to pass it, and just let it go. However, there was some discussion, and they've decided to relook at that again for maybe 2026. But I guess I'd like to bring it back to our own council at that time, when it's under discussion, to get some feedback from the rest of council, so that I'm going to be really supporting everybody here. So when we go to that, so I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion for Lori. Motion by Alan, second by Patty.
Moved by Councillor Wren, seconded by Councillor King, that the Corporate Services and Protection Committee recommends Council of the Township of Laurentian Valley approve the 2025 tax and wastewater rates as presented, and recommends that Council forward draft bylaw 2025-04013 as presented to the bylaw portion of the regular council meeting of April 15th, 2025 for enactment.
All in favor? Carried. Hello, Chief. Fire report.
Hello. Do you want to do the fire report or the other one? I think the other one's next.
Oh, no, it would, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Vehicle first.
I have some bad news, I guess. About 2 weeks ago, I was on the way to a call, and I got clipped on the front end of my fire truck and took the front end off it. So when I went to get it, see what it would cost to get it fixed, because of the fact that, well, first of all, it's $5,000 deductible. It's going to cost about $4,200. I think it is. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Is that what it?
That's about right.
Yeah, okay. We decided that maybe we should have a look at what, before we put more money into it, because the back fenders are rusted out, and I also attached a price for them to get them fixed. And so it becomes a case of, do we put money into it or what do we do? So that's what I'm bringing to council. I went out and excuse me, I put a couple prices together. I basically went out and I kicked some tires. I went on the internet, and I think for about $17,000 or $18,000 the most, I could get something to replace it. That'd be 5 or 6 years newer, and we wouldn't be putting good money after bad. That's all, But so, I mean, it's obviously not what I planned. I thought I'd get another couple of years out of it, but.
Al?
So this isn't the vehicle we talked about during budget where we split
No.
half and half?
Yeah, no.
I don't know, I think I agree with you in option 3, why pour more money after an old vehicle? If you can get something that's in around that price, I'd say, like, you're better off to get something newer. You put that kind of money in an old vehicle and all of a sudden the transmission goes on it or something.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like,
and that's what I was, yeah, that's when we looked at it, we thought, well, maybe it's time to, it's got 248,000 on it, I guess, and it's been a good truck, I mean, but no, it's not the same, that's, pray to God, that one doesn't go quite honest too, but.
No, it only makes sense. We have a motion, right, Lori? Alan and Keith?
Moved by Councillor Wren, seconded by Reeve Watt, that the Corporate Services and Protection Committee recommends that council support the option as presented to purchase a similar used vehicle at a cost of not more than $18,000 plus HST license and registration costs.
All in favor? Okay. So you're good with the 18?
Yeah, I think I can, like, I've been looking around, I think I can get something in a 2017, somewhere in that area.
Okay.
And it's, like, that'll make it 6 years newer than what we got, so.
Sean?
I guess the only question I have is should the motion maybe not be so restrictive on the 18?
I thought of that just as the motion is
well,
being read.
I was just gonna make that comment too. We're not gonna lose a
right.
$20,000 vehicle that's in really good shape because it's 20,000, you know what I mean?
My thought would something to the effect of that, subject to approval from the CAO, because following the procurement policy, basically, like, you know what I mean, just so it protects us as staff, I guess, that we have authority to buy the vehicle.
That upset limit, right?
Correct.
So whatever that upset limit is, do we want to say,
Al, do you have your mic on?
do we want to say no more than 22,000? And then you get the best deal that you can, but you're not going to pass something else up because it's a few dollars more and it's a really good deal.
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
I'd be happy with
You
that.
make a motion to amend the...
Up to 22.
Up to 22,000. Keith, you second that? Council's in favor of that? Okay. Thanks, Betty. Okay. There you go, Tim.
Thank you.
Your report, busy enough.
Yeah, it's been steady. The calls are there. There hasn't been only one big one so far this year, so I hope that remains. But keep the hours down. It's amazing that the calls we're getting. Like it's just.
My only comment would be, we're still getting a lot of CO alarms, fire alarms. Is there any way we can get more information on Facebook to kind of push it more, check your fire alarms? Because you get a lot of calls for that, right?
Yeah, and well, like we had one last night at 4 o'clock in the morning and one the night before at 2 o'clock in the morning, okay? Smoke alarms, okay? And it's one thing that I am doing when Lori and I are doing this thing on the 31st of May at this fire thing. That's one of the things I want to talk about is smoke alarms and fire alarms. And of course, I'm going to talk about burning permits. But yeah, it just, and I mean, everybody's having that problem. You know what I mean? Because we never had that stuff before because it just, well, it wasn't legal. But now it's a lot of calls for that.
Keith and then Al.
I noticed in the report too, it's a similar thing with the chimney fires, that people should know how to burn properly and to clean their furnaces at least twice or 3 times a burning season. And I guess the other comment is that whenever you get into a group or whatever, like that one call where there was a fisherman on the lake and they said his skidoo went through the ice and he was stranded out there. Like, make sure you're fact before you do that call.
The problem is that's the call I got in the accident, okay? The problem with that call came in as a water rescue, okay, at Long Lake Road, and the fellow's snowmobile had gone through the water and he was standing on the ice, okay? That's how the call came in, all right? So, of course, I mean, we can't call back or do whatever, so we go to respond. So then they can't get a hold of the person that called it in because they're way out they can't get through on their phone, okay? As it turns out, that call was on Round Lake, okay? It wasn't even on our territory. And and the OPP went and they found, excuse me, what was going on. That hole in the water was the hole in the water from the poor gentleman that lost his life 2 months before, and the guy was ice fishing, okay? But what happens, when the lady drove by and seen it, she had no phone reception until she was at Long Lake Road. So she gets to Long Lake Road, of course, they take the call, and she says, I'm at Long Lake Road, so that's where the call goes. So we go out and go out and go out, and I mean, yeah, those calls, and that's why I was going, because I couldn't figure out where this lake was, okay? And I didn't want anybody on the water. And of course, Pembroke, it also cost us because I had to call Pembroke in because it was water rescue. I can't get out there and say, oh, and then make that decision. That decision has to be made when the call comes in. So it's, yeah, I hate to say it, it's society and it's cell phones, okay? It's the calls you get, people like, people who drive by a car in the ditch, and they call out, there's a car in the ditch on its side, okay? They don't stop and check to see if there's anybody in it or anything. Well, as soon as a call comes in that there's a car in the ditch on its side, right away there's ambulance, police, and fire. We're going, okay? Because you have to assume the worst all the time. You know, you can't get there and then decide, well, geez, now because we've screwed around for 25 minutes, we're going to lose somebody, you know, and that, now, I know those, they drive me nuts, Keith, but I don't know. How do you fix it, you know? It's just the way people are, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
It costs us money. It costs us a lot of money, that stuff. You know, it's like the thing we talked about a couple months ago. This phone thing, these ghost calls, okay? They're happening more and more. We haven't had any for a month or so, but everybody's running into it. If you leave your phone on top of your car and you take off, you know how you get in your phone and it says your GPS? Well, that's how it happens. So you get on your car and you drive away, your phone falls down and hits the road, it comes in as a 911 call, an automatic accident. It's just like that OnStar, okay? So now here we are. Yeah, so there you are, you get EMS, the police, and the ambulance, and us, and we're looking for, and all of a sudden, well, there's a phone sitting on the side of the road, or you don't even find that sometimes, okay? But yeah, they're very annoying.
Could you do the odd article for the local newspaper and just write up some of these stories, but omit the names and the actual location as to a situation that actually happened and the estimated cost as a result of that was not necessary?
Yeah, I don't see why not, because I'm pretty good friends with the newspaper. Yeah.
Okay, Alan, you had a question as well?
Yeah, so Timmy, any of these CO2 calls that we're getting, are any of them habitual? You know, they're 3-4 times a year.
Oh.
Would it be any good to write that into our bylaw where after so many alarms with your fire alarm or your CO2 alarm, that now you're going to start getting charged $25 each call? So just to try and curtail some of it, that people actually say, hey, I better get my CO2 alarm and my smoke alarm checked, make sure the batteries are all good, or I'm going to wind up getting a fine for it.
Yeah, I believe that our bylaw, it covers three times in a year, okay? Because I've had a couple that have been twice.
On those?
Yeah, and, yeah.
We should then, after the second one, at the second one, our guys should be saying, you know, this is 2 this year, you have 1 more.
Yeah,
So you better get this thing looked at and taken care of, or correct the situation that's causing this.
Yeah.
Well, the municipality should send that letter out on behalf of the fire, saying that the bylaw says 3. But
one of the things that is happening more and more, though, which is I mean, yeah, there's lots of calls that there's nothing, but we are running into more and more going into places like, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm coming with the parts per million. When I put how many parts per million, we're actually finding CO in a lot of houses, okay? Which is surprising, because 5 years ago, you never found it, okay? Now we're finding it. And I don't know, I don't understand why that's happening all of a sudden, but it is happening. But yeah, it's the repeated offenders that it's costly, you know? Like,
so that's something we can maybe look at, you know,
Yeah.
maybe advise the municipality of the address after 2 offenses in 1 year, and municipality sends a letter out, same as what we do for other items, so.
yeah.
So
No,
the only
that
way you're
sounds
going to
good.
start curtailing it is
Yeah.
if all of a sudden you put a nominal fee on it, and then people start to listen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Tim?
No, not at the moment. That's enough.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Animal report. It's there. Lots of stray cats again. Nothing further on that. Move down, Festival Hall. No representation, library, the minute. Oh, I'm sorry, Betty. Festival Hall. Anything from? Okay, thanks, Betty. Library minutes are there. Move down to business, senior active living center. Christopher?
Good evening, Council.
Evening.
So, some more exciting news in the world of community development and recreation. We have been officially approved in partnership with LV 50 Plus Fit and Feisty to be a seniors active living center under the Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility. So what this means for the township is that the township will be the lead now for the Seniors Active Living Center, and they will be able to get up to $55,000 for yearly funding to go towards programming for that they're already doing, in addition to a nice one-time startup grant for $12,500 for startup costs, as well as additional funding for up to $15,000 for special grants on a yearly basis. So what's really special about this funding is it's legislated, so that every year the group will get an opportunity to get up to $55,000 or more, as they'll likely increase it as time goes on. It also will provide a significant savings to the municipality on a yearly basis because of we will no longer be giving the $5,000 grant to the group, as we are claiming the in-kind work that we're already doing for this. So it'll be a savings to the taxpayers for that. So it's really a win-win. It's a really great opportunity. So I'm happy to report that we have been successful with that grant. And unless the province changes the legislation, that funding will come every single year. And so where we're at right now then is in order to do that, we have to enter into an agreement with the province of Ontario. And so I'm just looking for council to pass a motion to enter into that agreement based on the bylaw before you.
Chris, great news, again, for the seniors in our area. The up to 55, you have to apply for what you're going to do to get 55? Or
Yes.
is 55 just an automatic check come in?
So what happens is the province will outline the funding that they're going to give every single year. For 2026, they've allotted up to $55,000. And so what you'll do, what I've already done, is submit a budget, working with the group to say, here's the costs that we think we're going to incur to basically prove that we're doing enough programming to justify that $55,000. Now, typically, unless the province sees a major issue with that, typically that's the number that you'll get approved up till. However, it is at the province's discretion to make that call. But given the fact that we have 600 members for such a small area, given the fact that the province has doubled up this funding and this continued, Minister Cho has also been elected as the Minister for Seniors again, who is a major leader in this. At least for the next 4 years, I do not see this going down, and hopefully we'll see it going up to support seniors in this area because, as you know, it's a massively growing demographic, and this group has really hit the nail on the head with changing it from what it means to be active as a senior.
That's great. Wonderful. Okay, we have a motion for that. Alan and Keith?
Moved by Councillor Wren, seconded by Reeve Watt, that the council authorize the mayor and the CAO clerk to execute an agreement with His Majesty the King in right of Ontario, as represented by the Minister for Seniors and Accessibility, to receive funds for Seniors Active Living Centers program to administer a seniors active living center in Laurentian Valley, and that the bylaw 2025-04012 as presented be approved and forwarded to the bylaw portion of the special council meeting of April 1st, 2025 for enactment.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, Chris, on to the website.
Okay, so as council is well aware, we have working for a little bit about a year on the transition for service for the current website that we have with GHAD Digital Solutions. They have outlined the end of life schedule for June of 2026, which means that the current software that we're using for the website will no longer be able to be used, which should, if we do not choose to upgrade it, we will not be able to use our website. I have, as you can see from the report, done lengthy research, canvassing every single municipality in the county and several other major corporations that are in the area running with these websites. As you know, if we may remember from the process from the original website, this company is the best in the business when it comes to this kind of product. The problem is the software. As you all know, and these days software is key, is the kind of the engine towards running something. And this software has been in use for about 20 years. It unfortunately is not scalable. It can't really live up to what it needs to be able to do now. And as you see in my report, there's quite a bit of issues with the software as time's gone on, from the building to the start to just some of the features that we can't use. And it also has going to be allowing us a lot greater ability to do a lot more things in the future, in addition to, and just in general, making it easier for me to use as well as everyone else here at the township. And so it's been a long journey with this, back and forth several times, starting out at quite a lot higher number, as you can see from the report of where we are now. It's my opinion that we are at the bottom of the negotiating table for this, and that we're at a point where I think it's the best price we're going to get, and that there's a huge advantage to doing this early. Mainly that when we first launched the first website, it was extremely short window to upload hundreds of pages to the website and get everyone familiar with the training. And so this new process, having pre-negotiated, will allow us to essentially take the time to properly build the website, to properly make sure that everyone's trained, to properly make sure that we don't have duplicates and triples of all these websites, as well as a whole plethora of extra things that are in my report that are going to help this municipality and provide savings in the long run. And it's going to really allow us to be ahead of the game, because right now we will have the time with the group to work through this, whereas if we wait till later, aside from the fact that it's very likely going to cost a lot more, we are going to be able to have their time as well to work through this. And so I'm bringing this report to council with the option to basically the transfer of service to pay for this either now or next year, because this cost is something we're going to have to recur regardless, with the cost of a new website being roughly $35,000 to $45,000 for a website right now. The price that we're getting with the extra value, free services, is a really good deal in my opinion. I believe this is, like I said, the best deal that we're going to get, and there's a massive advantage to doing this early. And so I hope that council will agree, based off the lengthy research and all the information in my report, that we move ahead with this and begin the process of transitioning to this new software and bringing our website into the current century.
Council, questions? Keith?
One of the questions I have is, in terms of timing, this time of year, and regards to the staff, is it a good time to do that with the workload that is before everybody? Or is there a better time or not?
Yes, there is a better time. I've actually scoped this for anywhere likely in the fall into the winter time. It'll be a staff discussion, so we have the flexibility to basically do this any time from now until June of 2026. So it's giving us incredible flexibility with staff to basically sit down and say, when is going to be the best time? I have scoped it out as the late fall into early winter as the best time to do it. But if staff would like to do it at a different time, we can. The advantage to doing this now is to getting this early bird pricing, to be able to get the ability to do this and be flexible in the timings. But you're right, there is going to be times that are going to be better and worse. What's really good about this is the group is going to take a lot of the load off in terms of transferring all this information over. The training is much shorter. This software is usable by anyone. Anyone who has staff at a staff level can back me up on this, has tried to do anything with a website. It's incredibly difficult. This is not the case. This is plug and play. This is anybody who can use a computer can do this technology. And so it's going to allow us the time, so that's right for us, as well as the opportunity to learn over a longer period of time instead of just trying to cram everything all into a short landing space.
Thank you.
Al?
So correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, the bottom line is 12,443.
Yes.
And by 2026, the technology we have today is obsolete.
Yes.
So in my opinion, I don't think we have any choice but to move forward with it. If we're going to get that kind of a deal on it, and like I think you say in the next, you're getting an extra $5,600 value on top of that. So to be honest with you, I think it's a no-brainer if we're going to have something that we're not able to use properly today, and by next year is totally obsolete. I think we have to act. I guess the next question would be for Sean as to when's the best time to pay for it, now or pay me later?
I think we pay for it in 2020. I think we pay for it in 2025.
Okay, Betty, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in favor of getting it done sooner than later. I've had nothing but comments from people who find our current website very hard to use and very slow to upload anything. So anything we can do to make it easier for the residents, I'm all in favor of.
Okay, Betty, you ready to make a motion?
I am.
Okay, seconder, Alan?
Moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Wren, that the Council of the Township of Laurentian Valley approve the transfer of service provided by GHD Digital Solutions for the Township's website, software, and operating system from iCreate to GovStack.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Okay, I think I'm rolling right into...
I was going to say, we still have you.
Okay. Right on. Don't have to get kicked off the stage. My report for March is before you. Hear a lot of this stuff I've already gone through, so I'll just scan it really quickly. Lots of exciting things going on here this month, especially with the grand openings. I've sent out a message to council about Battlefield Rentals, which is April 4th. The ribbon cutting is at 1 o'clock, but if you're interested in coming for a barbecue, it is at 12 o'clock if you'd like to come for a barbecue. So I'll leave that up to council about if they're going to come to that or not. But essentially, you all have been invited to come to the barbecue at 12 with the ribbon cutting and opening, official grand opening being at 1 o'clock. Other openings are happening with the Toppers Pizza, A&W, and the Petro-Canada. Those are basically ongoing. Some of them, like the Toppers, has already opened. The Petro-Canada will be opening shortly just for soft launch, as well as the A&W, I believe, just with the drive-through at some point. We've spoken at length with the owners about what the ceremony and everything is going to look at, and they've given us a 2-week landing window. So just so council is aware, sometime mid to late April, I will give you 2 weeks notice essentially for a grand opening. But just so that it's on your radar, because it's just depending on the construction, finishing up, all those little things, how long it takes them to get their staff going. So there are quite a few balls in the air, but they have told me that they will give me a 2-week notice. So just so council is aware, very exciting developments in our township.
The gas station open today.
Okay, the gas station's open today, so you can officially go and get your gas. And the A&W, I guess, will be the last one to go. I've been assured that they're going to have ice cold root beer there, which I will be definitely a fan of. So another exciting news that actually came across my desk, thanks to our mayor, with the magazine Business View. So we've been asked to participate in an interview with Business View magazine, which has roughly 877,000 subscribers across North America, to feature Laurentian Valley. And so they're wanting to know about some of the projects that we're doing, some of the grants that we're looking for, and some of the developments that are coming with the pillars. 3 pillars: open for business, recent accomplishments, and not done yet. So perfect timing for the Laurentian Valley. We are really growing at a rapid pace and lots of exciting things going on, and this will just help showcase to the rest of the world that we have a lot going on, and we are a really great township to work for, live in, and develop in. And so I will update council when that finally does get chosen. They're thinking the June or July edition, but stay tuned for more updates. And finally, the LV Open House. So save the date, June 14th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We will be hosting our open house here at Laurentian Valley Municipal Office. We'll have an open house, touch a truck, LV Business Showcase, community organizations. Tim's going to bring out the Junior Firefighter School for some training. Some future firefighters coming in there, family fun zone with tons of games, local history. I think I'm just going to have my Grandpa Jack there telling everybody about what's going on. But if anyone has any history they'd like to share for that, we'd love to have it to showcase the history, because as you well know, it's not just Laurentian Valley. It's the townships behind me here that made us up as well. So it's not just 25 years. It's been a long time in the making. And it's all happening here on June 14th, 2025. So mark your calendars. It's going to be a really exciting day here for Laurentian Valley. And I can't wait to show off the Laurentian Valley, everything that Laurentian Valley has to offer.
That sounds really exciting. It should be a good day.
And that is my report.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Busy man again.
Yes.
Okay, Nevada, please, recreation.
Good evening, Council. So in my report, I just wanted to highlight that Fit and Feisty had their AGM and elections. So it's hard to believe that 2 years have already passed, and they already have over 600 members. I also attached their updated constitution just for your information. They definitely did some rearranging of the positions on their committee, added about 4 more positions. It's a lot of work for the people that were there previously, so they tried to break up some of the program tasks or directors. So as you can see, there's half the people are new that are on the committee, so exciting to see what the next 2 years will bring for Fit and Feisty. Also, we've been doing interviews for the recreation summer student, so hopefully we'll know by the end of this week who we're hiring. We had interviews Friday and Monday. And that's really all I wanted to share. One last thing I forgot to put in my report is the new Horizon Grant for Seniors is wrapping up. They finished their last Coffee and Culture Connect event in the middle of March, so they did 12 events over the last year. The funding that was granted was just over $24,000 that went to develop the Coffee Connect program, and they did a really good job with it. And yeah, we're just wrapping up the final report and then excited to move on to the next funding of the SELC. And I also included the minutes for the joint recreation meeting as well. And that's on the next piece there. I don't know if you have questions from that. The main thing that came out of that meeting was I was asked by you to ask if they wanted to invite outside groups. And I think they wanted to keep it to just themselves, but have one meeting a year where they're invited to come out and share what's going on or any questions they have. And I think they were thinking the meeting just before the summer gets rolling. So the next meeting, we're inviting our insurance company to come and speak to the volunteers about how volunteers are covered with the township. So that should be an interesting meeting, very informational. If that goes well, then we'll open it up to all the volunteers and host it at one of the rec centers. I'm not sure if there's any other questions for...
No, interested about the joint meeting. So it went well. We had good attendance, I see. And so they're excited and glad that they have this group to work together.
Yes, yeah. I think they see the value that it's the committees of council, because they're funded by us, and they weren't, yeah. They see the value of bringing in others, but not for every meeting, because it's what they're talking about, township property and that type of thing, and they wanted to keep it more for their own discussions.
Absolutely. Keith?
When you mention outside groups, what are you referring to?
So
there?
something like the Pembroke Cross Country Group, or like cross country skiing group, or some biking association, any type of outside agency that's not, it's recreation based, but not funded by the township in any way.
So in the original group, when we first started this, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Nevada, we had a lot more than just the 7 funded groups. So we had, as you said, the Ron Moss and the biking.
Yeah.
Cross country.
We had ATV,
Yeah,
snowmobile.
ATVs, yeah, everybody here. But, so we asked from council to go back, Nevada, go back to them and say, do you want to include all of these groups? And that's how she's responding.
For like, those groups are good to come for like an information purpose,
Right.
but to try to resolve issues that it's very difficult. It's easier for the 7 that are on township property, doing township events. They share the same issues, so.
I think that once a year is good, and let them come to that meeting, and they can share their experiences they're having.
Yeah, the thought was to put out like a public invitation.
Yep.
And put it in our newsletter, and then maybe an invitation to those that I know of, and see who comes out once a
Okay,
year.
perfect. Thank you. Okay, we'll go down to subcommittees. Friends of Disabled. Nothing to report. Shady Nook, Brian's not here, but the minutes are there. Allison Fraser, Betty, anything to add? Oh, okay. Okay. That's all right. Forest Lee, nothing there. In Pleasant View, nothing. Stafford, Jennifer's not here. Oh, Tim?
One of these days I'm gonna run to the table, but anyway. I'm telling you. I wanted to report that, I don't know if everybody's aware, but approximately a year ago, there was a lady that wanted to get together all the emergency services groups and raise money for the food banks and so on and so forth. So she contacted myself as a fire chief, and she contacted Petawawa Fire Chief, and she contacted the OPP and the paramedics, emergency services. So we put it together last year, a little group. There's 6 or 7, actually. Wendy, one of the counselors here, is on it, and there's a counselor from Petawawa on it. And we call it the Emergency and Protective Services Unified, okay? And we had it's like a games, okay? So we had it, last year we had it at Petawawa. I believe it was it was September. So it was a rainy, wet day and everything. But what it is that we set up 4 or 5 different things, okay? Like things that a fireman would do, and things that maybe a paramedic would do, and things that a police would do, and so on and so forth. And we register people, like people that are on those, belong to one of those emergency services, and they come in and they of course, put their name in, and we make teams. So there'll be a paramedic on a team, and a fireman, and a police, the OPP, and so on and so forth. So we did it last year. It turned out really well. We made about $8,000 to $10,000, I believe, for the 2 food banks and the Boys and Girls Club last year. This year we're doing it again, but this year we're having it at Stafford Park. Okay, it's going to be there on the 13th of September. So it's going to put us on the map, I believe, because even some people on the committee didn't know where Stafford Park was, okay? But they will when we're done, okay? Anyway, so it's happening on the 13th of September. So it's, I just wanted, I think it's going to be really good. And this year the money is going to the food banks again in Special Olympics. So it's probably going to be bigger than it was last year. So we're looking forward to it. So.
So Tim, are we going to encourage people to come out and watch? Is that what happened
That's the
last year?
idea, yeah.
Okay.
People come out and watch, and like last year, like it rained, and there was still lots of people coming. Actually, we were lucky enough and moved in inside the arena, most of it. But it's like, one of the events is you pull a fire truck, okay? You get the team of 6 people, they pull the fire truck so far, and then another event, of course, run hose and hit a thing and so on and so forth. But that's the idea, you get people to come out and watch, and
You better get that knee fixed by September then. To be- Well, you know what, I think it's great. It's putting, once again, LV in the map. It's put the park on the map, and
yeah.
certainly I look forward to.
Yeah, so I just
going
want
out.
to know so the council knows what's going on. So.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Four Seasons, I think we've had lots of information tonight, unless you have anything to add, Keith? I'm sorry, Fit and Feisty? No, okay. Okay, Ray's report is there, County Renfrew. Any council acknowledgements tonight? Keith?
Just on behalf of the county report, we had a Trails Committee meeting in, I guess, the middle of the month. So there was a land use agreement with the Ontario Federation of Trail Riders, and that's the off-road motorcycles that are joining now. Their rules are going to be the same as the snowmobiles and the ATVs, where they have to be licensed, they have to be insured, so on and so forth, and they have to follow all the rules of the Algonquin Trail. In terms of protecting on the trail, last year it was 10 hours a week pretty well that they were spending. This year it's going to be up to 15 hours a week. Last year, where as an introduction they were kind of giving people warnings and there wasn't that many actual levies or offenses made, this year it's going to be no, if they're speeding, whatever, they will actually receive a citation. So there is some worth there that hopefully, and there was a report, well, you actually, you made the report to me about the ATVs on the trail early in the season. I mentioned that, and they've mentioned a Protect 5, and they are checking on that right now. So
Okay.
a little bit more progress there in that.
It'll be interesting to see what the off-road bikes will do on the trail, but Alan?
What's the scoop on the trail through DND? Algonquin Trail?
As far as I know, that it was opened.
It's all done? All
yeah.
good to go?
Yeah.
So how far can you go now, Keith?
Right up through to where the bridge crosses.
De Riviere?
Yeah. And there's going to be work done on that. They're looking at that to get it finished.
Okay, thanks, Keith. Council acknowledgements? Don't have any. Motion going to close? Alan and Keith. Betty, you're still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm still here. I'm just going to, are you going to be taking a brief break? Going into close or going straight into close?
I think we're going to go straight in. Is that okay?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, that's great. I just need to know.
Okay, moved by, we already have, okay, go ahead.
Yep, moved by Councillor Wren, seconded by Reeve Watt, that the council and committee meeting of April 1st, 2025, moved into closed session at 6:53 p.m., chaired by Mayor Bennett according to the Ontario Municipal Act 2001, Section 239.2, Section 239.3, and Section 239.3.1, in order to address the matter pertaining to information explicitly supplied in covenants to the municipality or local board by Canada, a province or territory, or a crown agency of any of them.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, welcome back to open session. Motion to come in open session. Betty and Keith.
Moved by Counselor King, seconded by Reeve Watt, that the council and committee meeting of April 1st, 2025, move back into open session at 7:05 PM.
All in favor? And then we have a motion.
Carried.
Yes, carried? Yes. Motion, Ministry of Finance Agreement Tax Sale. Alan and Keith.
Moved by Counselor Wren, seconded by Reeve Watt, that the Corporate Services and Protection Committee recommends Council of the Township of Laurentian Valley enter into an agreement with the Ministry of Finance.
All in favor? Carried? And now we motion to adjourn. Alan and Keith.
Moved by Counselor Wren, seconded by Reeve Watt, that the council and committee meeting of April 1st, 2025 be adjourned at 7:06 PM.
All in favor? Carried? Okay, Laura, you can tell me when you're ready.
I guess we do call to order again.
Yeah.
Roll call again, just to be sure everybody's here.
Yes. Okay, so we'll start with call to order. Alan and Keith.
Moved by Counselor Wren, seconded by Reeve Watt, that the special council meeting of April 1st, 2025 be called to order at 7:07 PM.
All in favor? Carried. Roll call, Lori, please.
Mayor Bennett,
Present?
Reeve Watt,
Present.
Counselor Goche-Keel, Counselor Hewitt, Counselor Hughley, Counselor King,
Present.
Counselor Wren.
Present.
All members present except Counselor Goche-Keel, Counselor Hewitt, and Counselor Hughley, and it should be noted that Counselor King is attending virtually.
All in favor? Carried. Oh, no, it's not okay. Confirmation of the agenda. Mover and seconder. Keith and Alan.
Moved by Reeve Watt, seconded by Counselor Wren, that the agenda of the special council meeting of April 1st, 2025 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Any declaration of curious interest, general nature thereof? Seeing none. Bylaw. Mover and seconder. Keith and Betty.
Moved by Reeve Watt, seconded by Counselor King, that the bylaw 2025-04012, being a bylaw to execute a transfer payment agreement with His Majesty the King in the right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Seniors and Accessibility, be enacted and passed and be read a first, second, and third time, and be numbered and signed in the mayor by the mayor and the clerk, sealed in the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book this first day of April 2025.
All in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn. Betty and Alan.
Moved by Counselor King, seconded by Counselor Wren, that the special council meeting of April 1st, 2025 be adjourned at 7:09 PM.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everyone.